Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Take 2 here on the Uniquely Unqualified channel on YouTube. I want to get into most valuable promotions, the big fight on this past Saturday, Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, and a few other big names that were in there. But before we get into all that, don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button on the Uniquely Unqualified channel here on YouTube. I appreciate it very much, and make sure that you get all the latest content. And let's get into MVP, Most Valuable Productions, on Netflix this past Saturday. So I think they did a pretty good job on I got a few things about this. I'm not a fan of Ronda Rousey. I liked the win. You know, I think Jake Paul, the last two promotions were bullshit. I was so upset. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, that was clearly just a sparring match. You know, Tyson was walking with a cane like 2 weeks or something like that, or a month before the fight. So, you know, he's 60-something years old. The guy is no spring chicken. He's still Mike Tyson. He's still jacked. But he's 60, man. He's 60. And he's been a professional athlete for his young life. And just like with any other athlete that performs at the highest level for years and years and years, your body breaks down. So that's what, you know, so much hype. Everybody wanted to watch Mike Tyson beat the shit out of Jake Paul, including me. I wish it would have happened that way. It didn't. I was disappointed. Fast forward to the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight. I was so disturbed and so offended by Jake Paul's performance in that fight. I come from a boxing background. I do not box anymore. I'm 40 years old. I would like to keep whatever's going on in my head working the way it's working. I still do martial arts. I just don't box anymore. I got problems with my elbows hitting the bags and stuff like that. So, but the point is that's where I come from. I come from two of the most respected boxing coaches in the world. My very first boxing coach was Benny Urquidez, Benny the Jet Urquidez. Went 200-0, 200 wins, no losses in kickboxing. That man taught me how to throw a punch. And then as I was getting older and working out of the amateur arena, having some kind of a prospect to go professional, I went over to Freddie Roach at Wildcard at the Benny Urquidez basically said, you know, hey, you know, you've got everything that you've got out of me at this point. Your next step is you know, I'm focusing on the amateur thing. You go over to Freddie. I'll give Freddie Roach a call. You go over there and start training with him. Cool. I go over there. I meet with Freddie Roach. Freddie's like, yep. Benny called me, and for day one, get in the ring with Freddie Roach, working pads. And so I come from that background of boxing, and so you know, even though the sport of boxing is horribly corrupt, you know, that De La Hoya Mayweather fight, that was what the coaches said to that one was criminal. Oscar De La Hoya won that fight. Go back and watch the fight. But they gave it to Mayweather. Anyway, I've watched some boxing matches that I have just been absolutely appalled with. And the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight was certainly one of them. Jake Paul was as disrespectful to that discipline as one can possibly be. He was that wasn't marketing. That bullshit in the ring that Jake Paul was pulling, that wasn't marketing. That was bullshit. Bullshit. Flopping, trying to it was either intentional trying to hurt Joshua's legs, because, when Jake would flop, he would go and he would wrap up and he would try to grab onto Anthony Joshua's legs like he's a freaking MMA fighter or some shit. Anyway, it was pretty upsetting that it took Anthony Joshua. I'm sure there was some kind of an agreement between the two. It's just like, look, bro, you're going to kick my ass, but, don't knock me out until at least the 5th round, right? So, and then Anthony Joshua broke his jaw and was very, very humble in his success. But, there were huge crowds at those Netflix MVP events, those past 2 events. And so the first thing I noticed, and everybody was disappointed. Everybody was disappointed in both of the main events on those cards. Everybody. La-di-da-di, everybody. I didn't hear one good, great fight coming out of fucking anybody's mouth on those last 2 fights. So I'm watching the prelims on YouTube, and as it is with prelims, early prelims, there's nobody there. There's nobody there. Then you switch over to the main card on Netflix, and there ain't nobody there. I mean, yes, there's some folks there, but that place wasn't sold out. It was not sold out. And I was actually I was hanging out with my jiu-jitsu coach watching the fight, and he was really pissed off, and because of the way that Jake Paul was dressed. And it was very disrespectful to the sport of MMA, the discipline and the philosophy of jiu-jitsu. And I agree with him, And so there was nobody there. I think the physical attendance was a fucking flop. I'm not sure how much money they got from Netflix to put it on. I could be completely wrong and totally fucking blind, but I mean, we can go back. It's on Netflix. Go back and look. Go back and look. While Francis Ngannou is knocking out that other guy, I get it. Francis Ngannou is a big son of a bitch. Good luck. That guy don't need to cut weight. That dude walks around like that. So, I mean, he's naturally that big. He's naturally that powerful. And when you don't need to degrade your body during a weight cut, and you're just like, I'm 265. I get fat in 2 weeks, I'll be 300 easy. But I'm 260, but Ngannou's 265. And I think this other guy was 240, 245 or something. So Ngannou's got, or maybe less. I don't even remember his name. I never even heard of this fucking dude. It was literally just a payday for Ngannou, and God bless the white guy for bouncing around in there for, however long he did. I'm pretty sure that there were so many first round stops in that fight card, but Ngannou goes in and just blasts this guy, so that's a big win. And then John Jones is there, and the one thing I will die a happy man if I get to see a top notch. I wish that they would have fought a couple years ago, because that's where it would have been great. That's where it would have been great, is if they would have fought a couple years ago. But there's still time, and they can still do it. John Jones would work Ngannou over easy. Easy. He's just a more rounded fighter. And, John Jones would kill Ngannou. John Jones is a big dude. Ngannou's way bigger. But when you just kind of saw how methodical and easy Jones took out Cyril Gane, there's just no competition for him. That's why he vacated that's why he left. It's because it's who am I going to fight? Who's going to challenge me? Anyway, so at the end of the Ngannou fight, then they set up and they say, wow, well, maybe we'll try to make something happen here. Everybody wants to see Francis Ngannou and John Jones. We've been wanting to see it for years. So cool, let's try to find that. If that could be a real fucking fight, then that would be one that would bring the whole MVP brand back. So then let's jump ahead to Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. Gina Carano lost 100 pounds to get into this fight. Rousey was clearly more prepared. I loved it when she got kicked in the head by Holly Holm, and I loved watching Amanda Nunes just fucking tear her apart and end her career, basically. I mean, Holly Holm ended her career, and then Amanda Nunes was just like, bitch, you can't be apprehensive with me, and getting kicked in the head will fuck you up forever. But I really, really, really liked the way Ronda Rousey won that fight. Everyone's bitching, 17 seconds, 17. Yeah, it's a fight. Kill. You know, like, I get it. None of y'all paid any money for it. You know, you paid your monthly due. But, you know, it's not like you paid $100 for a pay-per-view for that thing. And to watch, you know, I've never liked Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was just a huge promotion hype until a world-class champion kickboxer gets with long arms and legs and power, Holly Holm, get in there and gets kicked in the head. I loved watching her get kicked in the head. I thought that was great. I was so happy that Holly Holm took her down. And I just don't like all the hype. You know, I'm not a McGregor fan. I was never a Conor McGregor fan, ever. I understand he's great. I don't like the way he runs his mouth. I don't like the way Ronda Rousey would come out there and with that fucking, you know, like mad dog look on her face, like, I'm mean, I'm mean, grr, I'm a boss bitch, I'm grr. I didn't like that. Because, you know, when I go and I spar or I go to do a competition, you ain't gonna catch my ass with some funny look on my face. I'm gonna stand right here and look at you just like this. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna do my goddamnedest to come down and break your ass in half. That's what I'm gonna do. But I'm never gonna really change the look on my face to be like, and do this fucking performative shit. That's why I could never ever have made it as a big top name drawing thing, because I've never been into that whole like talk a bunch of shit to get people to watch. Just never been into it. So even though I'm not a fan of Ronda Rousey, still I'm not a fan. I really, really, really loved the way that she started and ended that fight. I think that she's not going to come back. This is not a comeback for her. I don't think this is a comeback for Gina Carano. Gina Carano's a mom. She just weighed 100 pounds heavier, you know, not too long ago. So, you know, pump the brakes on seeing her come back. You know, it's more of that MVP is still, it's still a little baby production company. It's just a little baby. They're not able to draw those crazy names, you know, like Mike Perry and Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is just doing it for the money, and you could tell when Jake Paul fought Nate Diaz. I watched that, and you know, it's just Nate Diaz wasn't there. Nate Diaz wasn't there on Saturday night either. He really looked tired and weak. And, you know, Mike Perry has not been any fucking sensation in MMA for years. He's got his contract with the BKFC, and he's good with that. Mike Perry looked fucking dangerous on Saturday. Looked great. But these guys aren't. The only one that you have a future with is Ngannou, basically. But as far as like MVP drawing like huge right now names, you're not gonna get that right now. You know, the only reason why Anthony Joshua took that fight, one, money, but another reason is, you know, he lost to Ruiz, chubby boy, and I think Anthony Joshua had 2 losses back to back, and one of them was Andy Ruiz. And Andy Ruiz is just kind of a chubby Mexican guy. I just freaking boxed the shit out of Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua is a big ass, heavy-handed striker. There's no reason for him to be losing to somebody like Andy Ruiz or to Jake Paul. And so, you know, that one was probably like a tune-up match for him. He just needs to get tuned up, man. He just needs to, you know, adjust the fine skills, get in there, get a win, punch this guy in the fucking face as hard and as many times as you can until he just quits, and then we'll come back and then get you back into the actual heavyweight scene in boxing. That's what I think that Anthony Joshua thing was. And this Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano is just a name from the past. You know, everybody still knows who they are. Rousey more than Carano. But maybe, you know, I was listening to somebody say today, like, could MVP be a challenger for the UFC? Could they be competition? You know, if Jake Paul grows the fuck up, puts on a damn suit, and acts as a CEO and a promoter, you know, take a few tips from Dana White and how he kind of does things. But if you could get the numbers on something like an Ngannou-Jones fight, if you could bring that fight to the world and Dana White and the UFC never could, that would, and you pay those guys real money, that could start shifting. That could start shifting the balance of power in MMA. Don't forget, man, the WWF, not the World Wildlife Foundation, the World Wrestling Federation, before the World Wildlife Foundation made them change their name to WWE because WWF had been taken by the World Wildlife Foundation for years before WWF was around. So for those of you that don't know why it went from WWF to WWE, or that it was ever WWF, that's why. And so after a time, the WWF fell off, and then Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and all those stars from WWF, they went over to WCW, and WCW got fucking huge, way bigger than WWF. And but then you see the Steve Austins and then the Triple H's and the John Cena's, and they kind of those characters rebuilt the WWE brand. But the WCW was just like, we'll promote you better, we'll pay you better, get over here. And so they did. And that could be something that happens with MVP versus the UFC. We'll have to wait and find out. But you gotta crack that nut first. And I think that nut might be Ngannou and Jones. So we'll see. I like the fight. I think that the physical turnout was abysmal. I'm interested to see how many people watched on Netflix. Well, you know, all that stuff is pretty easily found. This has been another episode of Take Two. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Uniquely Unqualified channel on YouTube, and we will see you guys next time.